Hello and welcome to this free training video where I will teach you how to overcome performance anxiety and pressure to perform so you can play with more freedom and joy. I will also help you with dealing with the fear of failure so you can play from this place of being discouragement proof. And lastly, I will help you with dealing with lack of confidence and self-doubt so you can play from a place of being bulletproof, like bulletproof confidence. And this training video is for you if you're already a full-time professional football player who knows you have the potential to play at an even higher level, but you need help with the mental part to kind of access more of your potential. This is for you. This is also for you if you are an academy player who are looking to break through and be an established full-time professional football player. And lastly, this video is for you if you are a semi-professional football player who are looking to break through and play full-time professional football. But before we dive into the content, I want to share with you why I'm sitting here sharing what I want to share with you. And the reason for that is, well, we have to go back a few years to when I was 22 years old. So a little younger than I am right now. And I recently come back from a long break from football. But I was so hungry to play at a professional level. And it went really good in the beginning because I played from this place of joy and freedom, which meant I had these amazing performances almost every game. But unfortunately, it didn't last long. And it was like a snap from a finger. All of a sudden, my aspirations had become pressure. It had become a burden on my shoulders. And all of a sudden, I start really struggling with performing on the field. Because prior to that, like I said, I played from this place of freedom and joy. But now I play to prove myself, to prove my worth. So every time I stepped onto the field, it was like I had to prove my worth all over again. And my performances were like night and day. When I was on my best, I was one of the best on the field. When I hit rock bottom, I was one of the worst. It was one or the other. There was no middle. And it really took a toll on me mentally. As I said, because every week it was like I had to prove myself all over again. And even if I had a great game, like the feeling of having that great game, the confidence and the joy didn't last long. So after a few years of struggling, I decided to quit and give up on my dreams because it was too tough mentally. And unfortunately, I didn't have the knowledge back then that I have now. And I didn't even know there wasn't a way out of it. I just thought, well, what I experienced with the performance anxiety and pressure to perform and all that, well, that was just a part of my aspirations. But luckily now, I see that it wasn't just a part of my aspirations. And one of the reasons I'm sitting here today is because I don't want anyone else to give up on their dreams just because they struggle mentally. I want to let you and other people, professional football players, aspiring professional football players, to know that it's a different way than you're currently experiencing. So I've spent the last 8 years diving into the mental aspect of football. the psychology of football, to really understand why I was struggling and how I can help other people now. And since then, I've coached hundreds of people and athletes to help them perform better. And there's also, when I think about, like, it's sad when there are professional football players or football players who have an amazing potential, they have amazing talent, but for some reason they struggle mentally. And sometimes it goes so bad that they retire early, or they don't get the career they could have. And to me it's sad, because the world is missing out on something great. If you don't realize your potential, you're not the only one missing out. The rest of the world is missing out on it. So I want you to have the best chance of succeeding, so you can live the life of a professional football player that you desire and have the potential to. And I want to show you how important the mental part is. I'm gonna draw something for you. So you probably know Bojan Krkić, right? Who played at Barcelona. He was a few years younger than Messi and was compared to Messi. And he was really hyped, amazing talent. And in his first season for the first team of Barcelona, he actually performed better than Messi did in his first season for the first team. So, and he was, like I said, compared to Messi, like he was really like absolutely hyped as one of the best in the world, and were expected to be one of the greatest of all time. But something happened mentally. He started experiencing anxiety. He couldn't perform at his best. He had to say no to the national team because of him struggling mentally. So he had to focus on just club football. Well, he went from Barcelona to play in Stoke. He went to the States. He went to different clubs. But he never really got to establish himself anywhere. And he ended up in... He ended up in Vissel Kobe, scoring one goal in 30 something games, 33 games I think it is. And that wasn't the career that anyone had been expecting when we started seeing him at Barcelona, right? But he still played professional football. Like, it's not like it's bad. But when you look at where he started and where he ended, it could have been different. But due to his mental, the pressure to perform, that he didn't have the right tools, the right way of dealing with it, and that really impacted him, both his performance and his mental health and well-being. And then we have Jamie Vardy. That's a completely different story. Like when Bojan, at the same age Bojan was playing for Barcelona, Jamie was playing in the 10th tier in the UK. But he had some great seasons, becoming the top scorer in some of at semi-professional level. And when he was 25 years old, Leicester bought him when they played in the Championship. In his first season in the Championship for Leicester, he scored 3 goals in 16 games. And he considered retiring from football. Maybe because he was used to having so great seasons, being the top goal scorer. So it was a huge difference. But he persevered. And he scored, I think it was 16 goals in his second season. And we all know what happened. He ended up winning Premier League, scoring, I think it was 23 goals in the season 15-16. It's quite different stories, right? It really shows what can happen if you don't deal with the pressure, the fear of failure, the lack of confidence. If you don't deal with that, it really shows how much your potential can suffer. And Jamie Vardy's story really shows that if you have the right mindset, something incredible can happen that no one would have dreamed about. And I want to really let you know that this is not Bojan's fault, right? It's not his fault that he struggled. He struggled like everyone else does at times, but for some reason, he maybe he didn't have the right help. So throughout this video, I'm going to refer back to this example with Bojan and Jamie and give my perspective of what happened, what could have been different with the 3 psychological obstacles I'm going to talk about. And when I first went into the world of football and working with football players and noticing how other coaches and sports psychologists work with football players, I quickly realized that I was bringing something to the table that very few seemed to be doing in their approach to working with the mental aspect. So I'm gonna draw a little for you again. When it comes to the mental aspect of football, the psychology of football, it seems to them that most people work from this equation. Do, have, be. So this equation means that, well, if I do the right thing, if I train the right way, the right nutrition, have the right mindset, well, then I can achieve what I want to achieve. Have great performances, scoring goals, keeping a clean sheet, getting a professional contract, whatever it is you're looking to achieve. And when I have achieved that, then I can be happy. So, but the problem with this is what you're looking for is happiness. But you first have to do all these things, achieve stuff in order to be happy, which creates pressure in the present moment, right? The one thing that everyone wants above anything else is happiness. And we are under the illusion like that, well, happiness is when I have achieved what I want to achieve. The difference with the way I work is we start with the being. Because what happens when we start with the being? Well, we remove the reasons for the reasons for pressure. Because if you're already happy, if you're already joyful and free, it's much easier to have the right mindset, to be focused, concentrated, to have energy. And then it's much easier to actually achieve what you want to achieve. Right? But if you experience pressure, it also drains your energy. It affects the whole body. Nutrition, sleep. And obviously if you feel mental pressure, your body, the physical part of you doesn't operate at its full capacity, well, then it's just more difficult achieving what you want to achieve, and you actually feel less happy. But if you're happy now, well, everything works better. You do better in life. And then it's much easier to achieve what you want to achieve. Life becomes much easier. Before continuing, I just want you to imagine, imagine if you live from this place of happiness, joy, freedom. How different would it be performing? How different would it be to deal with setbacks? How different easier would it be to deal with a bad performance? See, what I've noticed in all my conversation with football players is that they long to play from this place they did when they were like 14 years old. Everyone is saying like, when I was 14, 13 years old, whatever, it was a lot more joy and freedom, and they actually performed a lot better. In general, they perform better than they do today, because now they feel this pressure and stress. So imagine being that 13, 14-year-old kid again who played from this place of freedom and joy. How different would it be? And how easier would it be to actually achieve what it is you want to achieve? See, this is how I work, but this is how I help football players. And this is the conclusion I've come to in the last 8 years studying the psychology of football. And this is why I really believe that I'm the right person to help you with. Well, if you deal with the pressure to perform, performance anxiety, if you're dealing with fear of failure, if you're struggling with lack of confidence or self-doubt, I believe I can help you with that. So you have the best chances of making it as a professional football player. So now I'm gonna share with you the most important things when it comes to the psychological part of football to help you access more of your potential so you can take the next step in your career. And the first thing is you need to realize that you are already okay. I'm gonna explain a little more. See, you probably noticed that after a bad game, it can really hurt you. There's this resistance to you having a bad game. And even after maybe several hours or a few days, you still struggle when you think about that bad performance. Or you missed a big chance scoring a goal. And you think about it and it gets to you and it annoys you. And you think about what other people are thinking, what the fans are thinking, the coach, your teammates, what they think about you not scoring that goal, what they think about your performance, what they think about you making a mistake. And you think about what other people are thinking about you, about what you do. I'm gonna take a little out of football because there's another example of this that is most can relate to, which is dating. Which is, you'll probably notice that you've been on a date and you have a good date, and afterwards you start thinking about, well, I hope she liked me. I hope she didn't notice that I farted or said something foolish. I hope she loved everything I did and thought I was funny and sweet, etc. I wonder what she's telling her friends or family. And you notice in many areas of your life, in many situations where you think about what other people are thinking about you. You're thinking about the result, the outcome. And one of the biggest realization we can come to is the reason we struggle is because we care about the outcome. We care more about the outcome than the experience itself. See, about, for example, the dating. Well, you went on a date, you had fun, and afterwards, your mind starts nagging you. Right? Which just shows, well, you care about the outcome. You care about what she thinks about you, whether she likes you, whether she wants to go on another date with you. You care less about the date. If you go back into football, you care less about the experience of playing than the actual outcome. Oh, I hope the fans, the teammates, the coach think I did good. You care about you having a lot of great games, so you can be offered a professional contract or take the next step in your career, professional career. And it's nagging you that you are not being offered that contract. Because you care about the contract. You care about what you think that will do to you, how that will make you feel. You remember when I talked about what all the football players I've spoken to, they long to be that 13, 14-year-old version of them, because that version of them played for the experience and not the outcome. When it becomes about the outcome, we start struggling. See, it's meant to say happiness. um, when you look at a baby, you look at something that has inherent happiness. A baby is happy when it has all its physical needs met, right? Even though it's fat, it's bald, it's shitting its pants, diaper, whatever, like it doesn't care about anything. And it's not like you look at a baby and say, ah, this baby is inadequate, it's not enough because it hasn't achieved anything yet. You don't think that about a baby, but you think about that about yourself, right? See, as a baby and when we are a little kid, up until we're a few years old, it's kind of easy to be happy because we don't need to do anything to be happy. We are happiness, right? But as we grow older, we are being conditioned. We are being conditioned, and suddenly, like, we're not just happy because we are alive and we are us. Suddenly it's like, okay, I'm not enough, I'm inadequate. And as a human being, we will do everything we can in order to be happy. So what we start doing is compensating. So our performance becomes a way for us to feel better about ourselves. It becomes like a way for us to be happy. So now if you're a football player, you both enjoy it, but also a part of you like, well, if I have a great performance, then I will be happy. If I achieve this, then I will be happy. And I had a mentor who once said, there's not enough cookies in the world to make you feel happy or make you feel loved. You know people who are overeating. It's a way of dealing with the fear and lack, of dealing with difficult emotions. So they're compensating by eating, but obviously it doesn't work. And you know that's for yourself when you have a great game, you feel good. But for a short period of time. So there are not enough great performances to make you feel happy. And if we take this way of thinking back to the Bojan and Jamie example, sorry. Well, Bojan had some fear and lack. He has created this idea that just being him is not enough. That him is not enough to be happy. That he needs to achieve certain things, have great performances in order to be happy. And obviously when our life evolves around, well, I have compensation and fear and lack, there is pressure because I need to have great performances, achieve stuff. I need to live up to expectations. I need to score goals or whatever it is in order to be happy. So the first insight is that if you want to really play at a high level, you need to realize that the thing you had when you were a baby, you still have inside of you. You're just subscribed to a lot of limiting beliefs that creates fear and lack. Right? Bojan subscribed, and I can't tell you which beliefs, but he subscribed to some belief that created fear and lack. That's why he experienced performance anxiety and anxiety in general. The second psychological obstacle is most football players believe that the world works outside in, which means that they believe that, well, the reason I feel like I do is because of my situation, my circumstances, of other people. Well, as long as you believe that, it looks like, well, I'm a victim. At least I need to change my circumstances, my situation, in order for me to be happy and feel good, be confident, etc. But that is another misunderstanding. I'm going to draw for you again. So that is what that is the personal reality that most football players live in. Is, well, I feel like I do because what is happening outside of me. I had a conversation with a football player who was struggling because he really believed that his value as a human, his worth was dependent on his performance. Because, well, when he didn't have a great game, he felt bad about himself. And he was really struggling with this, and we had a conversation about, well, what is value? Well, he believed that value was connected to the outside world, that you do stuff in the outside world, like you achieve, you score a goal, you have a great performance, you get a contract, you make money, and that is your value. What he realized through our conversation was that, well, the world doesn't work like this. That I'm gonna that what he was experiencing wasn't like, he didn't experience bad performance that created this experience of I'm less valuable, I'm less worthy. He experienced his own thinking, which created that experience. It had nothing to do with his performance or anything. So why is this important? Well, as I said, most people, football players, live in this world like, well, in that I feel like I do because of the outside world, which means I have to change the outside world if I want to feel differently. And what does that create? Well, that creates pressure, right? And I imagine this is the same that Bojan went through. That he believed that the reason he felt the pressure, the anxiety, was because of the expectations. He probably felt that his worth was dependent on him living up to these expectations that people had of him. And obviously that will create pressure. So that's another huge realization is, oh, the reason I feel like I do has nothing to do with my performance, whether I score goals, keep a clean sheet, or how many points we have, the contract I have, or where I'm playing, whatever. The The reason I feel like I do is because of my own thinking. Well, with that realization, you're no longer a victim anymore. Now you are the master. Now you're in control. Because it's much easier to work with what is going on inside of here than to control your circumstances and environment. You can't control other people's expectations, what they say. You can't even control your results. But this thing, you can control and master. That is much easier to work with. An example of how this works in real life is, it's so easy to see in real life. You have millions of examples of that this is actually how it works. Just take a game for an example. What happens when your opponent scores a goal? Look at what happens in your team. Well, you have 11 guys on the field, but they don't react the same way to your opponent scoring a goal. You will see some of your teammates, they will really take it tough. Like they will mentally just shut down and kind of give up. And others will be like, come on guys, we're only one goal behind, we've got plenty of time, come on. And some people will even give even more power. Something happens inside of them, like, okay, they score a goal, let's give it everything. So there's so many different ways of reacting. Well, if what we experienced was the opponent scoring a goal and that created the feelings we had, everyone would react the same way, right? Well, the only reason we don't all react the same way in the same situation to the same circumstances is because, well, what we live in is our own thinking, in our own personal reality. It doesn't happen outside there, it happens inside here. And you see the same when you score a goal, how you can see how different your opponents react. You can see the fans, one side is cheering, the other is booing. Why? They experience the same thing. But it just goes to show that the only thing we experience is our own thinking. So what happens outside of us is neither good or bad. It's just an event. But depending on how we think about the event, how we interpret it, it creates a certain experience. So this second very important thing you need to understand is that you don't live in the feelings of your circumstances, your environment, of other people's expectations, what other people are saying. You live in the experience of your own thinking, but only 100% of the time, which makes you powerful beyond anything, because what you're up against then is yourself and not anything else outside of you. And the third psychological obstacles are the deep-seated fears that is going on in the subconscious part of your mind that is kind of ruling. And the tricky part of this is, well, these are your blind spots. This is something that is going on in the subconscious part of you, which means that you're kind of oblivious to it. You just notice the experience, which is often, in this conversation, it will be the pressure, the anxiety, the stress you experience, the lack of confidence. But you don't know why you experience it. You just notice the feelings. So it's really important that you get you find the reason for why you're struggling. what's going on behind the scenes. I'm gonna share a story with you as an example. And maybe you can relate to this, maybe this resonates with you. So some time ago, I had a conversation. I held with a football player who he was a semi-professional football player, and we're playing against professional teams for like showcase games. And he was fine performing up until someone said something that he interpreted as expectations. Something like, "Oh, this is a great game. This is a big opportunity for you." And as soon as he heard that, he would go from being completely calm and fine to feeling pressure, and not in the good way. And well, we had a conversation about it, and I asked him, so what I do is, I'm interested in why is he experiencing pressure? What's going on? What is he afraid of? What's the fear? And keep digging. And what he found out that he was oblivious to up until that point, because it was going on in the subconscious, was that when someone said something that he interpreted as expectations, his mind went back to something that happened when he was a child. So one of the examples that he shared with me was coming home with grades from the school. But the grades weren't as good as his brothers. And from his experience, his parents would let him know that it wasn't good enough. And the most influential people in our lives are our caregivers, which most often are our parents, right? And many years later, he was 21 when I spoke with him. That is still something that's something that hit so hard back then that it has been kept inside of him like a trauma. So when someone says something that he interprets as expectations, his mind brings up what happened when he was a kid and creates this fear inside of him. And he didn't realize it up until that point. So he'd been living, as a kid, he got the experience that he could do something wrong. Because, well, this is not good enough, which means I did something wrong. Which many probably can relate to playing football, that, well, if you make a mistake, I did something wrong. I didn't have a good game, did something wrong. And when you live in the world of right and wrong, it creates some pressure to do the right thing, right? But he got to a place where he realized that he didn't do anything wrong. It was just his parents' interpretations of the grades. But he didn't do anything wrong. And in fact, he started seeing that he couldn't actually do anything wrong, because right and wrong happens in the mind, which means it's not a truth. It's just an opinion. The day after I had this conversation with him, he had a big game coming up. And he got back to me saying that, well, he played with a lot less pressure. So what is really important here is getting to the root of the fear. Like, what is it that you're afraid of? Because in the releasing of that, something magical happens that frees us up. And going back to the Jamie Vardy and the Bojan example is, well, I can imagine that Bojan had some deep-seated fears. that he hadn't dealt with. And Jamie, well, it seemed like that either he didn't have some deep-seated fears, or he dealt with them when they had come up. So it's so important, this part, to work with the fears, because or else what we experience will keep occurring, the pressure. And you can go your whole career with kind of experiencing the same pressure, the same struggles, if you don't get into the root of it. And again, imagine going onto the field without the idea, without living into, oh shit, I can do something wrong. I can only imagine what it'd been like Bojan's career if he had known these things, if he had really seen them. How different his career would have been. If he had lived like, I can't do anything wrong, like even though I don't live up to expectations, it's not wrong. It's just like I didn't live up to the expectations that someone else had, which is their personal reality, which is their interpretation. That's not wrong. That's not bad. Right? Can only imagine how that would have freed up Bojan. And maybe this is how Jamie sees it, like, he didn't do anything wrong. Like not scoring that goal, it was not wrong, it just didn't happen. Not winning that game, well, it wasn't wrong, it just didn't happen. Which makes it also easier to look at objectively, like, why didn't we win? Why did we lose? Why didn't I score that goal? When you don't take it personally, it's easier to look at it objectively and see, okay, where could I improve? Where can I do better? Where can we do better next time? So again, that's why it's important to look at these deep-seated fears, because it's holding us back mentally, performance-wise. And it gets in the way of us looking at our performance objectively. So this was everything for me. I hope you really enjoyed this free training video. I hope you got a lot of value from it. And I want to say, like, if you just got like one light bulb moment, like one aha, like one thing like that was kind of new and fresh for you, that made you see what you're going through in a different light, I want to encourage you to apply for this free consultation. And in this free consultation, I will ask you, and we'll talk about what it is you want and what gets in the way, what you're struggling with. And not only that, but we will spend some time with me coaching you. And the reason for that is I want you to have an experience of working with me, so you can get a feel for if this is something for you. And for me, I also want the experience to see, like, do I think you're coachable? Do I think you're someone that I would like to work with? And do I think I can help you? And if we both agree, if we both like the experience, and you think I can help you, and I think I can help, you think I can help you, and and I think I can help you, well, then we can have a conversation about how working together can look like. But even if we're not gonna end up working together, you will get more value just by having this conversation. And just to make it sure, I want you to let you know you're not obligated to anything by taking me up on this offer for the free consultation. I hope I see you on the other side in the conversation, and have a great day. Bye.